Hello everyone and welcome you all to another chapter of Adobe Premiere Pro semi-advanced tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number 2 where I'll be showing you guys the project panel and sequence of Premiere Pro. Okay, so we'll be understanding in detail about the project panel where you will be able to upload your file, and next we'll be learning how you can work with sequence. Okay, so we'll be learning about all of it here in this particular chapter. So let's not waste time and let's get started. So here, as you guys can see, now I am here in the workspace of the Premiere Pro. Okay, so the panel which we are going to learn about is this one first, and afterwards we will know what is the use of making a sequence. Okay, so we'll learn about sequence as well. So before that, let me tell you guys about the project panel which I have over here. Okay, so in last class, I already have told you about the list form, the icon view, and also the freeform view over here. Okay, so now if you just double click in your project panel, let's go to my desktop, and from here, now what I'm going to do is I will come here and I will just go to my resource file, and over here you guys can see I do have different videos which I'll be using over here. Okay, so let's say I will take multiple videos. Okay, so I will just click on shift and I will click on the last one to select all these videos all together. Okay, so now I will click on, and here you guys can see now I do have imported all the videos using which I am going to work on. Okay, suppose in the same way, if you do have 20-30 videos, okay, so how you will be able to group it, okay, or how you will be able to place them quite nicely. Okay, so in that case, what you need to do is there is an option called new bin. Okay, so if you click here onto the new bin option, you guys can see this is basically a folder. Okay, so let's come here, and from here now I will name this as videos. Okay, so I will just name this as videos, and what I'm going to do is I will just save it up. So this one is basically just an empty folder. And now what I can also do is let's take this one in a list view, and now I will just select all of it. Again, using shift, I will select all of it, drag and drop it over here into the video files. Okay, so now I do have all my videos over here in my video folder. Okay, so bin is nothing else but it's just folders what you'll be able to create. Suppose from here now I want to actually delete this particular video. So what I'll do is I will select that particular video, and over here you guys can see there is a delete option. Okay, so from here basically if you click on delete, that particular video will get deleted accordingly. Okay, so if you come here and again if you go with an icon view, here you guys can see now I am not able to see the video. So for that I need to double click over here, and once I'm over here you guys can see now I do have my videos. But if you were thinking that how you're going to go back to your same file, okay, so you guys can come here, and on top here in the project panel you guys can see that you do have the project panel or the starting page just beside the bin as well. Okay, so I will just come here and again back at the same place. The same way you guys can add multiple bins over here or multiple folders over here. Okay, so here you guys can see I do have video, and suppose now if I want to zoom the view, okay, if I want to make this icon big, so here you guys can see there is a slider. What I can do is I can just increase the size of the slider, or I can just decrease the size of the slider. If I go to this particular view, if I just decrease it, this is how it will look like. And let's go with this one itself, and here in the list view if you just increase the size, this is how it will just increase the size, and if you decrease the size it will remain quite like this. Okay, so for me I will go with the icon view over here, and here you guys can see this was about folder. And now let's try to understand how you are going to create up a new sequence. Okay, so I already told you guys about sequence. Okay, so one project basically can have many sequences, okay, but one sequence can't have more than one project. Okay, so here you guys can see now this sequence comes under this whole project. Okay, so you guys can have different clips inside the same sequence, but you can't have a project. Okay, so we need to understand and differentiate what is a project, what is a sequence, and what are clips. Okay, so if you see over here, these are basically clips. Okay, so these are video clips. Okay, and over here, this is a project. The whole thing over here is a project. And here, this one, once I just import any media over here into my timeline, it will turn it into a sequence. Suppose you do have a requirement that I don't want to have the setting of the video. Okay, suppose if I just come right over here, let's go with the list view. Okay, so if you come here, okay, you guys can see that different videos do have different type of frame rate. Okay, so here you guys can see this one is 24 frames per second. Here you do have almost 30 frames per second, which is 29.97. Here you do have exactly 30 frame per second. Okay, and if you guys don't know the full form of this FPS, this is frame per second, as I was telling you guys. Okay, and this video consists of 60 frames per second. Okay, so you guys can actually check that. But what you want is, okay, I am going to create a sequence, but there what I want to do is I want to have 25 frames per second sequence. Okay, so in that case, what you need to do is, if you want to bring all of your media over here, and before importing this media directly from here, first I can create a sequence where my total video or the total sequence on all the clips which comes over here will automatically turn into 20 frame per second. Okay, so in that case, the first thing what you need to do is you need to come here in file, and from file make sure you go to new, and in new you guys can see you do have an option for sequence. Okay, and the shortcut key for that is Control plus N from your keyboard. Okay, that if you're a Mac user, it's Command plus N from your keyboard. Okay, and here you guys can see the shortcut key of how you'll be able to create a new bin as well, or a new folder, which we call. Okay, and there is another way of how you will be able to create one, okay, one new sequence. So for that, you need to come here into your project panel. Okay, so this is basically the project panel over here, and from here down you guys can see I do have different options. So this was new bin. If you want to find anything, you guys can basically find it over here or on top over here as well. Okay, and right here you do have one small icon just beside the new bin. Okay, so this is called the new item. So once I click on new item, here you guys can see you do have different options. Like on the top, I do have my sequence. Here you do have project shortcut, adjustment layers, black video, color matte, and also transparent video, and this universal counting leader. Okay, so from here I will click on sequence. Okay, so once I take this particular sequence, here you guys can see I do have different kind of presets, okay, which I will be able to use over here. Okay, so this was the customized sequence which I did use before. Okay, so here you guys can see I did take the frame size as 29.97 frames per second, and over here, as you guys can also see, this one was 1080 into 1920. Okay, that was the frame size over here, and also you guys can see the aspect ratio, which was in square pixels. So you guys will be able to do all of this from here. So basically you guys can search, okay, so which one you are looking for over here, okay, which kind of frame size you are looking for, and you guys can check from all of these presets. So over here you guys can see this one consists of 180 pixels, and the frame rate is 23.97, okay, which is almost 24 frames per second. Okay, and in the same way, if you want to take 20 fps or 25 frames per second, you guys can also take that. And for your clarity, what is frame per second? So a video is a continuous method of showing you one image. Okay, so here it shows that in one particular second how many images you will view in that 1 second. Okay, so if you take 25 fps, that means that in 1 second you will view 25 frames. Okay, so it will just go in such a smooth way and so fast that on a continuous basis, you will feel that it's moving, it's doing some work. Okay, so that is all about frames per second. You don't have to be so confused, but it's quite simple the way I have made you guys understand over here. Okay, so now if you come here onto the setting option, okay, you guys can come here and you guys can customize as well. Okay, so here you guys can see, you guys will be able to customize from here. Let's say I want to come down and I want to take this HDV 1080p. Okay, so here you guys can see my frames per second is 29.97, and I can come here and I can just decrease it to 25 frames per second. Okay, and over here, if you want to manually do that, if you want to customize, you guys can come here on top, click on custom option, and over here you guys will be able to take the frame sizes accordingly. Okay, so now let's come here, and from here let's just give 1080. Okay, so I will just give 1080 into 720. Okay, so I will just give 720 over here, and here you guys can see this is the size. Okay, if you want to use that, you guys can basically use it. Okay, and here you guys can select the aspect ratio. Okay, and here I will take square pixels 1. Okay, you guys can check out the color, the audio, what kind of audio you want. So for me, basically I will take this 48,000 hertz. Okay, so I'll just keep it quite like that. And from here, again, you guys can actually name the sequence. Okay, if you want to name the sequence. Okay, so I will just name this one as sequence class. Okay, so I will just name this thing as sequence class. And suppose you want to save this particular preset that you will be able to work later as well. Okay, so in that case, you guys can come here and click on save preset. Okay, so you guys can do that as well. And here you guys can also check that how many tracks do you want. Okay, if you want to increase your video tracks, if you want to increase your audio tracks, you guys can come here, increase the video tracks and audio tracks accordingly. And in the same way, if you're working with any VR videos, okay, you guys can come here and you guys can actually work with these values or all of these settings for your VR video as well. Okay, so let me just save this preset. So I'll just click on save preset and I will name this one. Okay, so I will name this one as sequence class. Okay, so I will name this one as sequence class over here and I will click on OK. So over here, now if I go to custom, okay, so let's say under custom, now I do have two sequences, okay, which I do have saved. So this one was the Instagram reel, which I made before, and this one is the sequence class, which we'll be learning. So here, once I click once, here you guys can see, now I do have the frame size, which is 1080 into height and 720 with over here. Okay, and the frame rate is 29.97 frames per second. Okay, and here you guys can see the sample rate and stuff. Okay, and you guys can see the default sequence consists of total 3 video tracks, and here I do have 4 audio tracks. Okay, so you guys can check that. And now if you come right over here, you guys can also see what is the frame size over here for the Instagram reel, which is 1080 into 1920. Okay, so you guys can check all those things out as well. So now let's go to the sequence class, and now if I want to open this, I will just click on OK, and over here you guys can see now I have created a sequence manually. Okay, so here I have created this particular sequence manually, and if I want to have an icon view, here you guys can see now. Always make sure that if you are confused between your video and your sequence, suppose let me come here and let me just put this one over here. Okay, so I just want to have a list view, and from list view what I'm going to do is I am going to close this panel. Okay, so I will just come here, and now here I want to have this panel, and let's say I will come here and I will just move one video here outside this video panel. And now let's get for a icon view, and over here you guys can see there is a difference between the video and the sequence. Okay, so here this is a video and they do have this kind of icon on the right hand down corner. Okay, and in sequence you need to check that you have this particular sign or this particular icon. So this is how you guys will be able to differentiate between a sequence and between a video. Okay, so now if I come here, as I do already have this particular sequence, and here also you guys can see that you do have different names. And the same way, if I want to create another sequence again, I can come here and I can create another sequence from here as well. Okay, so you guys will be able to create different kind of sequence. If you come here, sequence, you guys can click and create another sequence right over here. Okay, so now once I do have this sequence, now if I try to put out my video right over here in my timeline, they will show me a warning page. Okay, so what it says that this clip does not match the sequence settings. Okay, do you want to change the sequence to match the clip settings? Okay, so I have turned this on. Make sure you turn this on as well, that this will show you a warning page. So they'll give you two options, like, do you want to change sequence settings and do you want to keep existing settings? Okay, what do you want to do? Okay, so you guys can select from all of this and you guys can come here and click any of this. Okay, so here now I will click on keep existing settings over here. And now if you just zoom this out, okay, suppose if I come here and if I want to zoom my timeline up a little bit, you guys can see now I have zoomed in my timeline as well. Okay, so now let's come here, let's go on sequence option, and here let's try to check the sequence settings. Okay, so over here you guys can see the sequence settings have changed quite a bit, because there what I did was I just clicked on that particular option where it says, okay, like I want to keep the existing setting. Okay, so now I will just come here, let's cancel this one, and now let me come here and let me just delete this one as well. Okay, so if I just come here and if I just go back again, let's say I will just move this icon over here. I'll just come here at the beginning, and what I'm going to do is, let's come here, and if you want to check the sequence settings, you guys can come here, which is 1080 to 720. Okay, and I'll just cancel this one, and now let me just check this one manually as well. Let's go with the list view, and over here my sequence is 29.97 frames per second and actual video is 24 frames per second. Okay, so now I do have already showed you how you can turn this on, but suppose you don't want to change the sequence, you just want to have the way how it is. So in that case, just drag and drop your video, and over here you guys can click on change sequence settings. Okay, so you guys can come here and you guys can actually change the sequence settings from here as well. Okay, so here you guys can see now if I come here into the sequence. Okay, so let's say I will just come here onto this particular option, and now this one also shows 24 frames per second as well, the frame rate. Okay, so here you can actually see this particular thing, and if you want to have an icon view, you guys can actually have an icon view over here as well. Okay, so one setting, and this video has been used one time. Okay, and yeah, this was about creating sequence. And anytime you guys can come here, go to the sequence option from the menu bar and go to sequence settings, and from here basically you guys will be able to change the sequence setting and all from here as well. Okay, so yeah, I hope you guys have understood this class on how you will be able to work over here. Okay, like what is the project panel and how you're going to actually import your video, how you're going to create a sequence. We have learned about all of this thing in detail. Here in my project panel, I do have new item, and in new item I do have different kind of options over here as well. Okay, once we move too deep into our classes, we'll be learning more about that. Okay, and in next class we'll be learning about the source monitor and the preview window. Okay, so we'll be learning about both of this over here. Okay, so see you all in the next chapter. Till then, take care and goodbye everyone.